The rain hit Manhattan like shattered glass, slicing through the cold night as Madeline Pierce stumbled out of Hale Capital's revolving doors. 8 months pregnant, soaked to the bone, and clutching nothing but a ripped manila folder, she looked like a ghost drifting between the neon lights of Fifth Avenue. Behind her, the towering glass building glowed with power she had never possessed and now never would. Inside that building stood the man who had just destroyed her life. Tristan Hale. Her husband. Moments earlier, in the marble-floored boardroom, he hadn't even lowered his voice when he said it. "You're dead weight, Maddie. Leave the papers, leave the ring, leave everything." His new assistant, a woman barely 24, stood behind him, smirking like she had already won the throne. Security dragged Maddie out before she could defend herself. Tristan's last words echoed through the glass lobby as the doors shut behind her. "And don't bother begging. I'm done funding your little life." Her little life. A gust of wind tore the folder from her hands. Ultrasound photos scattered across the sidewalk like broken promises. Maddie knelt, trembling, trying to gather them before the rain washed the ink away. Cars splashed water on her legs as people hurried past without a glance. Manhattan didn't slow down for misery. Her baby kicked hard, as if pleading for her to keep going. Maddie whispered, "I'm trying, sweetheart, I'm trying. If you take to that." But she wasn't sure she believed herself anymore. Her phone buzzed in her coat pocket. She expected another cruel message from Tristan, another threat about lawyers or custody. Instead, the caller ID showed an unknown number. She ignored it, then it rang again. And again. Relentless. When she finally answered, a calm male voice spoke over the storm. "Madeline Pierce?" She froze. No one had called her by her maiden name in years. "Who is this?" she whispered. The voice replied, "Someone who knew your mother. And someone who needs to warn you. Tristan Hale isn't finished with you tonight." Maddie's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" Lightning flashed, illuminating a black SUV slowly pulling up beside her. Its tinted window glided down inch by inch. Inside was the last person she ever expected to see. And he said 5 words that changed everything forever. Madeline Pierce had never imagined her life would shrink into a single rain-soaked night on a Manhattan sidewalk. 10 years earlier, she was the girl people overlooked, the soft-spoken waitress at McConnell's Steakhouse in Brooklyn, the one who always remembered customers' orders but never made enough tips to cover her college tuition. She was the girl who rode the Q train home after midnight, clutching a worn backpack and smelling faintly of coffee and fried onions. Back then, she had dreams. She wanted to study accounting, buy a used Toyota, maybe move to a tiny studio in Queens with sunlight that reached the kitchen. Nothing grand, nothing greedy, just a life she didn't have to apologize for. But dreams were fragile things. And when Tristan Hale walked into the restaurant one night, tall, commanding, wearing a tailored navy suit and a Rolex that cost more than her yearly rent, he shattered her world simply by noticing her. He was the first man who ever made her feel visible. Tristan tipped generously, laughed at her jokes, remembered her birthday, and told her she was brighter than the city lights. Maddie didn't stand a chance. After 3 months, she moved into his sleek apartment overlooking the East River. After 6, she was married. After 12, she was pregnant. And after 15 months, she realized she had become invisible again, this time inside her own marriage. Tristan controlled everything. Her bank card, her schedule, her friends, her access to their apartment. At first, he masked it as protection, then as responsibility, then as entitlement. By the time she was 7 months pregnant, Maddie felt more like a guest in her own life than a partner. But she kept trying. She told herself love demanded patience, that stress made people cruel, that Tristan would return to the man she married. She was wrong. The week before he threw her out, Maddie discovered he had moved all joint accounts into his name. He said it was for financial efficiency. Days later, she overheard him on the phone, complaining about her morning sickness, making him late for meetings. And the night before everything collapsed, she found a pair of diamond earrings under their bed, ones she had never worn. Still, she hoped. Still, she lied to herself. Still, she protected the man who wouldn't protect her. Until the boardroom incident. Until the humiliation. Until the doors slammed behind her and the city swallowed her whole. Now, leaning against a rain-slick street lamp, her breath shaky, Maddie looked down at her reflection in a puddle. Mascara streaked across her cheeks. Her dark hair clung to her temples. Her coat, cheap, fraying at the sleeves, hung heavily around her swollen stomach. She didn't look like a wife or a mother-to-be. She looked homeless. The unknown caller's voice still echoed in her ears. "Tristan isn't finished with you tonight." And then, that black SUV, the window lowering, the silhouette inside familiar in a way that made her stomach twist. 10 years ago, this man had passed through her life for barely a moment, but that moment had shaped everything she didn't yet understand. He was the last thread connecting her to a past she never knew she had, and to a future she didn't know was coming. He leaned slightly forward, his face illuminated by a flash of lightning, and said her name with quiet urgency. "Maddie, get in, you're not safe." Madeline hesitated as the black SUV idled beside the curb, its engine humming low against the storm. She didn't recognize the car, but she recognized the man inside the moment she stepped closer. Nathaniel Quinn, the quiet stranger she had served at McConnell's steakhouse years ago, the one who had tipped her $100 because he said her smile looked like hope. She remembered the crisp Mont Blanc pen he carried, the gentle way he spoke, the sadness in his eyes, as if he knew too much of life. Back then, he was just another customer. She never imagined he was the CEO of Quinn Dominion, a name whispered in Wall Street boardrooms with a mix of awe and fear. A man whose company owns skyscrapers along Park Avenue and hotels stretching from Manhattan to San Francisco. A man who had no reason to know her name. Yet tonight, he did. Maddie slid into the SUV, shivering as the warmth blasted from the vents. Nathaniel removed his coat cashmere, dark charcoal, and placed it gently around her shoulders. "You're freezing," he said quietly. She stared at him, trying to calm her breathing. "How do you know me? And what did you mean Tristan isn't finished with me?" Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "We should talk somewhere safe, not out here." "Safe from what?" Maddie whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he nodded to the driver, and the SUV merged into Manhattan traffic, gliding past the glittering storefronts of Fifth Avenue. The city looked different from behind tinted glass, less harsh, more distant, like a world she no longer belonged to. They headed toward Midtown, the skyline glowing like a crown of steel and fire. Eventually, the car turned onto a private entrance, leading into the underground garage of the Aurelia Tower, a luxury residence known for hosting foreign diplomats and Wall Street titans. Maddie had only seen it once in a magazine, marveling at the marble lobby and sweeping views of Central Park. Now she was rolling into its depths, a place she had never been allowed to step foot in. They parked near a private elevator. Nathaniel guided her inside, pressing the button for the 49th floor. His penthouse. She felt painfully out of place. Soaked shoes, frayed coat pockets, hair stuck to her cheek. She smelled like rain and fear. Nathaniel, in contrast, looked immaculate, white shirt crisp even in the storm, dark hair slightly tousled but dignified, the calm presence of a man who had weathered worse storms than the one outside. When the elevator doors opened, Maddie forgot how to breathe. The penthouse wasn't just luxurious, it was another world. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the entire Manhattan skyline, glittering like scattered diamonds. A grand piano stood near the glass, and beyond it, a living room furnished with soft cream, leather, and polished oak. A faint scent of cedar floated through the air. "Why am I here?" Maddie finally asked, her voice cracking. Nathaniel motioned toward the sofa. "Because your husband made sure you had nowhere else to go." Her heart clenched. "Tristan kicked me out. But that's it, right?" Nathaniel's eyes darkened. "Maddie, Tristan filed an injunction an hour ago. He's accusing you of embezzling funds from his company." Her knees weakened. "That's impossible. I never touched." "I know." His voice was steady. "But he has evidence. Fabricated. Professionally done." Her breath stilled, icy and hollow. "And that's not the worst part," Nathaniel added. She looked up sharply. "What else did he do?" Nathaniel exhaled slowly. "He also filed to take your baby." Tristan Hale did not come from privilege. He manufactured it. Born in a cramped two-bedroom apartment in Newark, he spent his childhood watching his father get fired from job after job and his mother clipping coupons at the kitchen table until midnight. Tristan swore he would never be small, never be powerless, never be someone the world could ignore. That vow became the steel core of everything he grew into: ambitious, relentless, calculating. By the time he reached 30, he had built Hale Capital with a combination of charm, risk-taking, and moral shortcuts no one could quite prove. His smile softened investors, his handshake won trust, his eyes cold, sharp, predatory promised dominance. Everything about Tristan was crafted to conquer. And then he met Madeline. He hadn't loved her, not really. He loved the way she needed him, how she didn't question his decisions, how she made him feel big just by being small. To Tristan, Maddie was not a partner, she was a pedestal, a place for him to stand taller. And when she became pregnant, he felt the pedestal cracking. Responsibility bored him. Vulnerability disgusted him. A family meant expectations he never intended to meet. So, while Maddie decorated a tiny nursery corner with hand-stitched blankets, Tristan entertained boredom in the form of Callie Bishop, a doe-eyed assistant with ambitions sharper than her stilettos. Callie fed his ego, laughed at his jokes, and worshipped his every move. She was everything he wanted, admiration without obligation. But even Callie sensed Tristan's darkness. In the office, he barked orders like a general commanding soldiers. He berated interns until they cried in the bathroom. He used company funds for client entertainment, which was code for secret weekends in Beverly Hills. His senior partners feared him. His board tolerated him. And his employees despised him so quietly he never realized the seeds of his downfall were already planted. The night he threw Maddie out, Tristan hadn't acted out of anger. He acted out of strategy. Getting rid of her was phase 1. Phase 2 began the moment her silhouette vanished through the glass doors of Hale Capital. He waited until security confirmed she was gone before opening the folder. Callie placed on the boardroom table the legal documents he had prepared weeks earlier. Fake spreadsheets, altered transactions, digital footprints traced back to Maddie's logins. All staged, all airtight, all designed to destroy her credibility forever. Callie watched him sign the last page and whispered, "You're ruthless." He smirked. "I'm efficient." "And the baby?" she asked cautiously. Tristan didn't blink. "A child raised by her will hold me back. A child raised by me becomes an asset." Callie's eyes widened. "You're going to take..." She'll lose custody before she even realizes she's fighting for it. But what Tristan didn't notice, what his arrogance blinded him to, was the young janitor mopping the hallway just outside the boardroom. A janitor who heard every word. A janitor with a brother who once interned at Quinn Dominion. A janitor who quietly hit record on his old iPhone. The video wasn't clear. But the audio? Perfect. And that janitor had already sent the file to someone who would use it. Someone Tristan feared but didn't know was watching. Someone named Nathaniel Quinn. Back in the penthouse, Maddie stared at Nathaniel in horror as he finished explaining the injunction. Her voice trembled. "Why would he do all this? Why destroy me?" Nathaniel met her eyes. "Because Maddie, Tristan Hale doesn't just want to ruin your life, he wants to erase you." It's action. The storm had finally eased when Nathaniel finished explaining everything Tristan had set in motion. But inside the penthouse, Madeline felt as if she were standing in the center of a different kind of storm, one built from betrayal, fear, and a crushing sense of helplessness. She had lost her home, her identity, her safety, and now her unborn child was at risk. But she didn't yet know the most devastating blow was about to hit her in the most public, humiliating way imaginable. Nathaniel gave her a spare room to rest in, but sleep never came. Maddie lay awake, replaying Tristan's words, his smug expression as guards dragged her out, the way Callie smirked behind him. She kept one hand over her stomach, whispering to her baby the promise she couldn't keep. "I won't let anyone take you." At dawn, she finally drifted into a shallow, uneasy sleep, only to be jolted awake by Nathaniel knocking urgently. "Maddie," he said through the door, voice low but tense, "you need to come see this." Her feet were unsteady as she followed him into the living room. The massive flat-screen TV was already on, tuned to a popular Manhattan morning show. Two anchors sat behind a glass desk with practiced smiles until the producers played the segment. A headline flashed across the bottom of the screen. "Pregnant woman thrown out of Hale. Capital company claims major financial theft." Maddie's heart plummeted. Her own face appeared soaked from the rain. Mascara streaked, clutching falling ultrasound photos as she stumbled on the sidewalk. Someone had recorded it. Someone had sold it. The anchors debated, their voices loud and gossipy. One witness claimed she embezzled money from Hale Capital, the woman said cheerfully, as if discussing weekend plans. Her name is Madeline Pierce, 7 months pregnant. Heartbreaking, the male anchor added, shaking his head with false sympathy. But if she really stole company funds, that's a felony. Maddie felt the world blur around her. No, that's not true. I didn't. It's Tristan, Nathaniel said softly. He leaked the footage. He's framing you in public before the courts even process the injunction. Her knees nearly buckled. The worst part wasn't the accusation. It was the next clip. A reporter stood outside Hale Capital as Tristan, perfectly groomed, tailored suit, sharp as glass, stepped into frame. He shook his head with a performance worthy of an award. It's tragic, he said solemnly. My ex-wife is struggling mentally. Pregnancy has been difficult for her. I hope she gets the help she needs. Maddie gasped. No, he didn't. And the missing funds? The reporter asked. Tristan pressed a hand to his chest like a grieving saint. We'll let the investigators handle the details. A clean, cutting blow. Then Callie stepped beside him, placing her hand on his arm. We just want what's best for the baby, she said sweetly, which may not be with her. Maddie's vision tunneled. Her voice cracked. They're doing this together. They're destroying me. Nathaniel muted the TV. His expression was controlled, but fury simmered beneath the surface. This is only step one of Tristan's plan. The narrative is set. By noon, every major outlet will be running the same story. Tears streamed down Maddie's face. Hot and unstoppable. Where do I go now? Who will believe me? Nathaniel looked directly at her. I will. And there's something I haven't told you yet. Something about your mother. Maddie froze. What about my mother? She whispered. Nathaniel inhaled slowly. She didn't die, Maddie. She disappeared. Madeline stood still, barely breathing. The words, she didn't die. She disappeared, echoed in her mind, vibrating through her bones, until she could no longer tell if she was cold from the rain or from the truth she had just been handed. My mother, she whispered. Nathaniel, what are you talking about? I was told she died when I was 10. Nathaniel motioned for her to sit, but Maddie remained standing, gripping the back of the leather sofa as if the room were tilting. He spoke gently, each word weighted with caution. Your mother, Eleanor Pierce, wasn't who she pretended to be. She was far more powerful and far more hunted than you ever knew. Maddie shook her head. No, my mother was a waitress. She worked double shifts. She never had money. That was the life she chose to protect you, Nathaniel interrupted softly. But before she met your father, she was the majority shareholder of Pierce Dominion, one of the largest private investment trusts in New England. Maddie stared at him in disbelief. That's impossible. Nathaniel took a step closer. Eleanor Pierce walked away from her wealth, her board seat, and her public identity because someone was after her. And before she disappeared for good, she left a sealed directive naming one person to manage the trust until her heir came of age. Maddie swallowed hard. Who? Nathaniel held her gaze. Me. Her breath hitched, the room blurred, her heart hammered so violently she pressed a hand to her chest. You're lying, she whispered, though she knew he wasn't. I wish I were, he replied. But Maddie, Pierce Dominion has been accumulating assets quietly for years, and recently it acquired a silent controlling stake in Hale Capital. The words slammed into her like a fist. What? She rasped. Why would my mother's trust buy into Tristan's company? Because someone needed leverage, Nathaniel said. Someone who knew your husband's ambition would eventually devour him and anyone beside him. Maddie backed away, dizzy, overwhelmed by the weight of two collapsing worlds. Tristan destroying her life publicly, and her mother's secret life unraveling privately. Why didn't you tell me before? She managed to ask. Nathaniel exhaled slowly. Because Eleanor's instructions were explicit, I could not reveal the truth until you were in danger. And you think I'm in danger now? She whispered. He didn't hesitate. Yes. The answer sliced through her. A quiet ringing filled her ears. Her knees trembled. She sank onto the sofa, covering her face with both hands as sobs tore out of her. Every humiliation from the last 24 hours, the rain, the boardroom, the headlines, Tristan's deception crashed into her at once. Nathaniel sat beside her, carefully, respectfully. Maddie, listen. I know this feels impossible. I know you feel alone, but you're not. You have protection, resources, and a legal claim Tristan doesn't know exists. She lifted her head, eyes red and swollen. Tristan will take my baby. He'll twist everything. He always wins. Nathaniel's expression hardened into something fierce. Not this time. How can you be so sure? He paused, then answered with quiet certainty. Because what Tristan doesn't know, Maddie, is that your mother predicted this. And she left something behind. Maddie blinked. Left what behind? Nathaniel reached into a locked drawer under the marble coffee table, retrieved a worn, sealed envelope with her name written in her mother's handwriting. Maddie, he said, offering it to her. Your mother left you the one thing Tristan Hale cannot fight. Her fingers trembled as she reached for it. What is it? She whispered. Nathaniel looked straight into her eyes. Proof. Daxphorus. Madeline stared at the envelope as if it were a living thing, fragile, dangerous, holding a truth she wasn't ready to face. Her mother's handwriting, looping and elegant, looked exactly as she remembered from the notes Eleanor used to leave in her lunchbox. Be brave, my little star. But this envelope was different. Heavier, older, sealed with wax, the color of dried blood. Her throat tightened. I can't open this. Nathaniel sat across from her, hands folded, giving her space. You don't have to, not yet, but you need to understand what's inside. What is it? Her voice cracked. Documentation, he said softly. Bank transfers, whistleblower statements, a testimony your mother wrote before she vanished. All of it proving that Tristan's rise wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. Maddie blinked rapidly. Criminal? How? Nathaniel's jaw tightened. He built Hale Capital using stolen intellectual property, insider trading, and your mother was the one investigating him right before she disappeared. A cold shiver ran up her spine. No, she whispered. Tristan didn't know her. He barely met my family. He knew enough, Nathaniel said. And he knew she was on to him. Maddie shook her head, fighting nausea. That doesn't make sense. Tristan was a low-level analyst when my mother died. Nathaniel locked eyes with her. He wasn't. Eleanor discovered he was working under an alias in a partner firm. Someone fed her the truth. She confronted him. Weeks later, she vanished. Her body was never found. Her breath stuttered. Are you saying Tristan? I'm saying, Nathaniel interrupted carefully, your mother suspected him of orchestrating illegal dealings. Her disappearance was convenient. The room tilted. Maddie clutched her stomach instinctively. Nathaniel moved closer, but didn't touch her. Before Eleanor vanished, she gave me that envelope. She said, one day you would need it. That danger would find you the way it found her. Tears burned her eyes. She knew Tristan would target me? She knew someone would. She saw patterns, Maddie. She was brilliant at reading people. And she knew your husband's ambition would consume anything in its path. Maddie pressed the envelope to her chest. She felt as if her mother were reaching out from the past, guiding her, warning her. How long have you known? She whispered. 10 years, Nathaniel answered. But I could do nothing until you came of age under the trust, and until you were in clear, undeniable danger. She looked at him through trembling lashes. And now I am. Yes. Her legs weakened, but she steadied herself, inhaling shakily. Why didn't my mother go to the police? Why leave everything to me? Nathaniel hesitated, because what she uncovered involved more than Tristan. Powerful people, dangerous people. She couldn't expose them without risking your life, so she disappeared and left you the evidence. Maddie stared at the envelope, its weight suddenly unbearable. My mother died protecting me, she whispered. Nathaniel nodded solemnly. And now you must protect your child. Her breath hitched. Her baby, Tristan's injunction, the public humiliation, the stolen accounts. Everything was connected. Every humiliation, every threat, every broken piece suddenly made a horrifying kind of sense. Maddie wiped her tears. What do I do now? Nathaniel leaned in, voice low and urgent. Open that envelope, Madeline. It holds the truth that will save you. Her fingers trembled as she slipped one nail under the wax seal. Just as it cracked, the penthouse intercom buzzed. Nathaniel stiffened. The doorman's voice sounded through the speaker, tight, urgent. Mr. Quinn, Tristan Hale is downstairs, and he's demanding to come up. Nathaniel pressed the intercom button, voice controlled but edged with steel. Do not let him up. The doorman answered immediately. Mr. Quinn, he's insisting, says it's urgent and he has paperwork. Maddie froze. Paperwork, that meant lawyers, That meant Tristan was accelerating the attack. Nathaniel shut off the intercom and turned to her with a calm he clearly didn't feel. He won't get past the lobby. But we need to prepare. Her pulse hammered. He knows I'm here. How? No one saw me leave with you. Nathaniel moved toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring down at the city as if searching for the answer in the Manhattan skyline. Tristan has eyes everywhere. Assistants, private investigators, people who worship him or fear him. And if he thinks you're slipping away from his control, he'll burn through his entire network to track you. Maddie swallowed hard. He wants the baby. He wants leverage, Nathaniel corrected gently. Maddie lowered her gaze. Same thing. For a long moment, neither spoke. Rain was still dripping from the balcony railing, tapping softly like a metronome measuring her fear. But fear wouldn't save her. Her mother hadn't vanished because she was afraid. She vanished because she was brave. Madeline Pierce was her mother's daughter. She straightened, clutching the envelope. I want to know what's inside. I need to. Nathaniel nodded, guiding her to the marble dining table. Then let's begin. Maddie broke the wax seal. Inside were 3 items: a letter, a USB drive, and a small brass key engraved with the number 47. Her mother's handwriting filled the first page. My Maddie, if you are reading this, danger has reached you as I knew it one day would. Tears brimmed instantly. Nathaniel remained silent, giving her room to read. There are men who will try to erase you to protect themselves. You must not let them. The truth is your greatest defense. Trust no one except the one delivering this to you. He is loyal to me, and now to you. Maddie glanced up at Nathaniel, her chest tightening. He looked away, jaw clenched. She continued, The USB contains documents that can destroy Tristan Hale and those funding him. The key belongs to a safety deposit box in Midtown. Inside is everything else you'll need to protect your child. Maddie's hands trembled. A deposit box. Evidence. A legacy. She wasn't powerless. She wasn't alone. Nathaniel saw the shift in her posture, the spark where despair had been hours before. You understand now why Tristan is desperate to control you, he said. You're not just his ex-wife. You're the one person who can end him. Maddie inhaled, shaky but determined. Then I'll fight. The words tasted new and sharp on her tongue. She had never fought anyone in her life, not her father, not customers who yelled at her, not Tristan, even when he deserved it most. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt like awakening. Nathaniel allowed the faintest smile. Good, because he didn't come alone. The knock on the penthouse door thundered through the room. Maddie jolted. How, Nathaniel? How did he get up here? You said. I said he wouldn't get past the lobby, Nathaniel replied grimly. I didn't say he wouldn't cheat his way in. The pounding grew louder. Then Tristan's voice, and it was not calm, not polished, not charming. It was unhinged. Maddie, open the door. Has 7th. The pounding at the penthouse door shook the walls, each blow echoing like a warning shot. Madeline flinched with every strike. Nathaniel stood between her and the foyer, his posture calm but coiled, like a man ready to defend if Tristan forced his way inside. Don't answer it, Nathaniel said quietly. But Tristan didn't need her to. His voice seeped through the metal like poison. Maddie, he snarled, we need to talk. Now. Her breath hitched. She pressed a hand over her stomach, trying to steady her trembling. Nathaniel stepped closer. He can't touch you in here. You're safe. Safe. The word felt foreign. She had never been safe, not with Tristan. Not with the lies he fed her in the beginning. Not with the control disguised as love. Not with the promises that turned into chains around her life. But tonight was different. Tonight, she was beginning to see beyond the fear. Nathaniel grabbed his phone and dialed security. Tell the intruder to leave, or we involve NYPD immediately. Maddie listened as the guards intercepted. Tristan shouted threats, swore, demanded. But eventually, after several tense minutes, his voice faded as he was escorted back to the elevator. Only when the final echo of shouting disappeared did she collapse onto the velvet sofa. Nathaniel knelt beside her. Are you hurt? No, her voice broke. Just scared. That's normal, he said, but the fear won't last. Not for you. Is exploding. But it was not herself she feared for most. It was her child. As if sensing her panic, the baby kicked again. Harder this time. Urgent. Maddie's eyes filled with tears. I can't let him take my son, she whispered. I can't let my baby grow up being used by that man. Nathaniel nodded, his expression softening. You won't. But there's someone else you need to think about now. She frowned. Who? He hesitated only a second. Your son when he's older. The life he'll see. The truth he'll need. And the strength he'll inherit from you. Maddie exhaled shakily. I hope he's stronger than I am. You're stronger than you think. Her gaze drifted to the envelope on the table. Her mother's secrets, her mother's warnings, her mother's fight. Then another thought crept in, uninvited, unsettling. Her son would one day ask about Tristan, and she would have to answer. She pressed a hand to her chest. What if he grows up hating me? Nathaniel shook his head. He won't hate you. He'll understand, especially once he sees the truth. And how will he see it? She whispered. By the life you build for him, Nathaniel said gently. By the strength you show now, and by the people you allow into his world. The way he said people made her pause. You mean, you? Maddie whispered. Nathaniel didn't answer, not directly, but his eyes said everything. He wasn't just protecting her. He cared, more than he should. More than he had probably planned. And then, a sharp vibration buzzed from the table. Maddie jumped. Nathaniel grabbed her phone. It's an encrypted text message, he said. No caller ID. He opened it. The message contained only 3 words. He took something. Maddie felt her stomach drop. What does that mean? Before Nathaniel could reply, the penthouse lights flickered once, twice, then went completely dark. A blackout. In a building that never lost power, Nathaniel's voice dropped to a whisper. Maddie, stay behind me. Someone else is inside the building. Darkness swallowed the penthouse, thick and sudden, as if someone had ripped Manhattan itself from the power grid. Maddie's breath hitched. The city outside still glowed, thousands of windows shimmering like gold, but inside Nathaniel's home, the lights remained dead. This building never loses power, Nathaniel murmured. His voice was steady, but Maddie heard the tension beneath it. This is deliberate. 200, end quote, 200 Naufden. A soft hum echoed through the hall. Not electricity. Not wind. Something mechanical. Maddie stepped closer to him. Is it Tristan? No, Nathaniel said. Tristan isn't subtle. This is someone trained. The SUV driver. The mysterious caller. The intercepted text. He took something. Pieces began snapping together in Maddie's mind, not neatly, not gently, but with the force of a puzzle she never agreed to play. What would he take? She whispered. Nathaniel's eyes flicked toward the envelope on the table. The USB, he said. But it's still here. A cold realization hit her. The power outage wasn't for her. It was for the evidence. Nathaniel grabbed a flashlight from a drawer, illuminating the hallway in a thin white beam. The penthouse looked different, in the dark, larger, emptier, more vulnerable. Shadows stretched long across the floor, bending around the furniture like silent intruders waiting to be noticed. He guided her slowly toward the study. Stay close. If there's someone inside, I'll deal with them. Deal with them? Maddie choked. Nathaniel, who are you? He didn't answer. Not yet, because as they approached the study, Maddie saw the door cracked open just an inch, but enough to show something was wrong. Nathaniel lifted a hand, signaling her to stop. He pushed the door open, revealing the room lit only by the city's glow. The desk had been rifled through, drawers open, documents scattered. But the envelope, her mother's envelope, lay untouched. What were they looking for? Maddie whispered. Not the envelope, Nathaniel said. Something else. He moved quickly, scanning the shelves, then froze. A single silver frame, one Maddie hadn't noticed before, had been removed from the wall. Behind it, the drywall was cut open in a square. A hidden safe. Empty. Nathaniel exhaled sharply. They found it. Thanks for watching. Found what? The original hard drive your mother gave me. Everything she collected. Decades of evidence. Maddie's knees weakened. So it's over? Tristan wins? Nathaniel turned to her, eyes burning in the faint light. No. The drive can expose the powerful men who backed him, but the evidence in your envelope, that destroys him. And that's why he's panicking. Maddie wrapped her arms around her stomach, trying to steady her trembling. A new fear crawled beneath her skin. If Tristan didn't take it, who did? Nathaniel hesitated. Maddie, the man who took that drive isn't working for Tristan. He's working for someone much worse. Before she could ask, the power surged back on with a violent snap. The penthouse flooded with white light. Maddie blinked, disoriented. Then her phone buzzed. A new message. No name, no number. Just a picture. Her ultrasound. But it wasn't the one she dropped in the rain. It was still sealed in Tristan's office, the copy she kept locked in her desk drawer. Under the image, one sentence. If you want to see the truth, come alone. Maddie's blood turned to ice. Nathaniel grabbed the phone, reading it. His face darkened. This is a trap. Her voice barely came out. But it's my baby. And whoever sent this, they were in Tristan's office. Nathaniel stepped closer, voice low. Maddie, listen to me. You cannot go alone. Because the man who sent that picture, he paused. He's the reason your mother disappeared. Madeline stood perfectly still, the phone trembling in her hand, her heartbeat crashing against her ribs like a warning drum. The ultrasound image felt like a ghost reaching out from the past, her past with Tristan, her past as a woman who once believed in fairy tales, her past as someone who thought safety came from being quiet. But that woman was dying. Something colder, sharper, stronger was forming in her place. Nathaniel, she whispered, unable to tear her gaze from the message. He has access to Tristan's office. That means he's close, too close. Nathaniel paced slowly, every step measured. He wasn't a panicked man, he calculated, processed, assessed. Even now, his mind was turning the pieces over, like a strategist mapping out a war. This isn't Tristan's style, he said at last. He's arrogant, impulsive. He would have confronted you himself. Loudly, publicly. Maddie nodded, voice unsteady. So it's someone else, someone who can get past keypads, guards, locks, and disappear without being seen. Nathaniel finished grimly. Madeline remembered the power outage, the hidden safe sliced open with surgical precision. Whoever took that hard drive knew exactly where it was, she whispered. Nathaniel's eyes darkened. And the only people who knew were your mother and the ones she was fighting. A chill spread down Maddie's spine. Nathaniel, what aren't you telling me? He stopped pacing. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of the city below. There's a man, Nathaniel said quietly, a financier known only by his middle initial, K. He bankrolls corrupt executives, buys silence, buries investigations. Your mother uncovered his operations. She gathered enough evidence to send him to prison for life. And he made her disappear? Maddie breathed. Nathaniel didn't answer. He didn't have to. That drive, he continued, was the last remaining thread connecting him to the crimes. If Kay has it, he's tying up loose ends. The implication hit Maddie so hard her knees nearly gave out. I'm a loose end, she whispered. Nathaniel reached out, steadying her shoulders. Not if we move fast. Your mother left you more than evidence, Maddie. She left you leverage. The trust, Maddie said slowly. More than that. Pierce Dominion controls 37% of Hale Capital's voting power. Tristan may think he owns the world, but the truth is, he's standing on my mother's land, Maddie said, a tremor of realization running through her voice. Nathaniel nodded. And you are the heir to her empire. Maddie lowered her gaze to the envelope again. Her mother's handwriting seemed to glow under the penthouse lights, urging her forward. Her fear didn't vanish, but it shifted, crystallizing into something fiercer. Resolve. What do we do next? She asked. Nathaniel exhaled, relieved to hear strength in her tone. First, we keep you hidden. Second, I'll contact a cybersecurity team to trace the message. Third, no, Maddie interrupted. I need to confront him. Whoever he is, he wants me alone? Fine, but I won't walk into a trap blind. Nathaniel stared at her. Maddie, I'm done hiding. Her voice trembled but held firm. He took the drive. He took my mother. I won't let him take my child. Tuesday. Nathaniel's expression softened, not out of pity, but admiration. Then we'll go together, he said. But before Maddie could agree, the elevator dinged. Both turned. The doors slid open. Standing inside, dripping from the rain, hair wild, eyes red, was Callie Bishop. And in her shaking hands, she held a gun. Callie Bishop stood inside the elevator like a ghost dragged out of a storm. Her hair clung to her cheeks, mascara streaked in frantic lines, her breath ragged as if she'd been running for miles. But it wasn't her appearance that froze Madeline's blood solid. It was the gun shaking in Callie's trembling hands. Nathaniel reacted instantly, stepping in front of Maddie as if his body were instinctively built for protection. "Callie," he said with calm authority, "put the weapon down." Callie's voice cracked. I didn't know where else to go." Her hands shook harder. The gun wavered dangerously. "Tristan's looking for me," she whispered. "He thinks I know something. And now he's trying to kill me." Madeline's breath caught. "Tristan, what are you talking about? Why would he hurt you?" Callie's eyes darted between them, haunted, wild. "Because I found out I wasn't supposed to. And once he realized, he tried to shut me up." Shock stabbed through Maddie. "Found out what?" Callie's lower lip trembled. "About your mother." Thenceforth, silence crashed over the room. Nathaniel's stance remained protective, but he eased a fraction, analyzing her. "Callie, drop the gun and we can talk." "No," she cried, stumbling back. "If I let go, he'll find me. You don't understand, he has people everywhere. They're listening, they're watching. He said he'd erase me like he erased her." "Her?" Maddie whispered. "You mean—" "Yes," Callie screamed. "Your mother, Eleanor Pierce. Tristan told someone on the phone that she should have stayed quiet, that she forced his hand. I wasn't supposed to hear that conversation, but I did." Madeline felt as if the floor vanished beneath her feet. Nathaniel cursed under his breath. "Callie, listen carefully." "I'm not lying," she sobbed. "I thought Tristan was powerful. I thought he'd protect me. I thought I mattered. But he's terrified someone will expose what he did years ago, and now he thinks I have the evidence. It is next to—" Madeline's voice softened despite the fear gripping her throat. "Callie, whatever you know, you're not alone. Put the gun down, please." Callie's breathing hitched, her voice dropping to a whisper. "He knows you have the envelope, Maddie. He knows about Nathaniel's safe. He knows everything." "How?" Nathaniel asked sharply. Because there's a mole." Callie wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing mascara across her cheek. "Someone close to you. Someone who's been feeding him information." Nathaniel and Maddie exchanged a horrified look. A mole. Inside their circle. Inside his company. Maybe even inside this building. "Who?" Nathaniel demanded. "Give us a name." Callie swallowed hard. "I don't know for sure. I only heard Tristan mention the Watcher. Someone who keeps him updated on every move you make." Maddie's skin prickled with dread. The blackout. The safe cracked open. The ultrasound picture taken from Tristan's office. Whoever did these things had access, knowledge, precision. Nathaniel stepped closer, voice gentle but firm. "Callie, let me take the gun." Her arms lowered a few inches. Then, a sharp click echoed from the hallway. Not from Callie. From behind Maddie. She turned slowly. A tall silhouette stepped into the room, drenched from the rain, expression unreadable, and holding another gun aimed directly at Nathaniel. A familiar voice sliced through the air like ice. "Don't move." End quote. Madeline's heart stopped. Because the man at the doorway was Nathaniel's own head of security. Madeline froze as the tall figure stepped fully into the light. Rainwater dripped from his coat, pooling onto the marble floor. The gun in his hand never wavered. His expression was calm, too calm, like a man who had already accepted whatever came next. "Ronald?" Nathaniel's voice was low, incredulous. "You're my head of security. What the hell are you doing?" Ronald Whitlow, the man who had guarded Nathaniel for 7 years, tilted his head slightly. "Doing my job, sir." Madeline's heart pounded. "Your job is to protect him." Ronald's eyes flicked to her. "My job is to follow the highest bidder." Nathaniel stiffened. "So, Tristan bought you." Ronald's lips curled into a humorless smirk. "Tristan can't afford me. I work for someone bigger, someone you should never have crossed." "If—" Maddie felt a cold wave wash over her. "Kay," she whispered. "You work for Kay." Ronald didn't deny it. Callie whimpered behind them, still holding her gun loosely, though her hands trembled so violently she couldn't aim at anything. "Please," she begged. "Don't hurt me. I didn't tell them anything. I swear." Ronald barked a short, humorless laugh. You're a mosquito. No one cares what you know. Or what you think you know." Callie's face crumpled. Nathaniel subtly shifted, placing himself between both women and Ronald. "Ronald, think carefully," he said. "You're standing in my home, pointing a gun at me. That's suicide." "No," Ronald replied. "What's suicide is crossing the man who wants what's inside that envelope." Madeline instinctively clutched it closer to her chest. Ronald's eyes sharpened. Good, saves me the trouble of searching the place. Nathaniel edged forward a step. You're not taking anything. If you come fighter. Ronald lifted the gun, aiming squarely at Nathaniel's heart. You can't stop me. To Madeline's horror, Nathaniel raised his hands, not in surrender, but to position his body fully between Ronald and the women. He was shielding them with no hesitation, no calculation, no fear. Ronald, Nathaniel said softly, don't do this. But Ronald stepped further into the room. Move, he ordered. Madeline felt her pulse roaring in her ears. Nathaniel, don't please. He glanced at her just long enough to speak without words. I won't let anything happen to you. Ronald cocked the gun. Callie screamed. Madeline's breath snapped. And then a shattering crash exploded through the room as the balcony glass door burst inward, spraying shards across the floor. Everyone recoiled. Ronald spun, gun raised. But it wasn't an attacker entering. It was the storm. Wind howled through the opening, ripping the curtains sideways, scattering loose papers. Lightning illuminated the room, bright and merciless. And in that blinding flash, Madeline saw something behind Ronald. A shadow. A second figure. Someone else had slipped inside the penthouse. Someone moving with the silent precision of a ghost. Ronald sensed it too. He turned. Too late. A forearm slammed into his wrist with brutal speed. The gun clattered across the floor, sliding under the piano. Ronald staggered, then was thrown against the wall with such force the dry plaster cracked behind him. Callie shrieked and dropped her own gun instantly, terrified it would go off. Nathaniel lunged forward to grab Maddie, shielding her from flying debris. Madeline stared, breathless, as the new figure stepped into the light. A man, tall, rain-soaked, face half hidden beneath a hood. But his voice, deep, controlled, unnervingly calm, rang through the chaos. Madeline Pierce, he said, we need to leave, now. Nathaniel tensed, positioning himself protectively again. Who the hell are you? The stranger lowered his hood, revealing a face that made Maddie's breath stop. Not with fear, with recognition, because she had seen that face once. A single photograph, faded, tucked inside her mother's old journal. Her voice trembled. You're my mother's brother, if you're Esther. Rainwater streamed from the stranger's jacket as he stepped forward, lowering his hood completely. The years had carved lines across his face, but the resemblance was undeniable, the same sharp jawline as Eleanor Pierce, the same piercing gray eyes, the same haunted weariness. Madeline's breath faltered. You're my uncle, my mother's brother, Marcus Pierce. Marcus nodded once, firm and urgent. We don't have time. We have to go. Now. 8. Nathaniel moved protectively between them, tension radiating from every muscle. You broke into my penthouse. You assaulted my head of security. You need to explain yourself. Marcus shot him a hard look. I didn't break in. I bypassed a system I designed 15 years ago, and I took down your security muscle because he's been reporting to Kay since the day you hired him. Nathaniel stiffened. Callie whimpered from the floor, hugging herself. He said Tristan would kill me. He said. Marcus cut her off. Tristan Hale is nothing but a puppet. Kay gives the orders, and right now, he wants the evidence your mother gathered erased permanently. Madeline felt lightheaded. You knew my mother was alive, and you never came for me? Marcus's expression cracked for just a second. I tried. She sent me away. To keep you safe, to keep us off Kay's radar. You should have told me, she whispered. I couldn't, Marcus said. Your mother believed the only way to protect you was to make you invisible. No paper trail. No contact. And it worked until you married that bastard. A wave of shame swept through her. I didn't know who Tristan really was. No one did, Marcus said. Not until it was too late. Nathaniel stepped forward. If you want Maddie to trust you, then answer one thing. Why now? Why show up tonight? Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black device, a burner phone. Old, scratched, but functional. He tossed it onto the table. The screen was shattered, but a single message glowed through the cracks. Target acquired. Eliminate the heir. Madeline's stomach twisted violently. The heir, she whispered. Me. Marcus nodded grimly. Kay knows you have the envelope. He knows you're Eleanor's heir. And he knows you're the only person who can tie him to the financial crimes your mother uncovered. Nathaniel clenched his jaw. We need to leave the city. Now. Marcus shook his head. Leaving buys us a day, maybe less. The only way out is through. Madeline stared at both men, two entirely different worlds colliding at her feet. Nathaniel, steady and strategic. Marcus, fierce and unpredictable. Both willing to risk everything for her. Tell me what you need from me, Maddie said, voice steady for the first time that night. You have to open the safety deposit box, Marcus said. The key your mother left you, box 47. Whatever she hid there is the final piece of this puzzle. It's more proof? She asked. Marcus hesitated. It's more than that. It's something dangerous. Before she could ask how, a sharp beep cut through the room. Nathaniel grabbed his phone. His face drained of color. Maddie, he whispered. The injunction hearing, Tristan moved it. It's happening in the morning. Her blood turned to ice. Tomorrow. She wasn't ready. She didn't have the evidence. She didn't have the truth. That's not all, Nathaniel continued, horror tightening his voice. He turned the screen toward her. A news alert. Tristan Hale files for emergency custody. Claims Madeline Pierce is missing and mentally unstable. Madeline gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Marcus cursed. We're out of time. Thanks, Doria. Because the final line of the article read, law enforcement mobilized to bring her in. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, as the three of them stared at the glowing headline. Madeline Pierce, mentally unstable. Missing. Dangerous. Tristan had weaponized the media like a blade and pointed it straight at her throat. Madeline's knees weakened. He's turning the entire city against me. Nathaniel steadied her arm. He's creating a narrative before the courts open. If he paints you as unfit, he'll get temporary custody immediately. Marcus let out a bitter laugh. Temporary? With Kay pulling his strings, he'll make it permanent. Callie, still trembling on the floor, shook her head violently. You don't understand what Tristan promised. Kay, he said once he had full custody, he'd sign over. She clamped her mouth shut. Madeline stepped toward her. Sign over what, Callie? Callie's voice dropped to a whisper. The inheritance. Your inheritance. Your mother's trust. Tristan knows the baby is the legal heir if something happens to you. Madeline's blood froze. So, if I disappear, the baby becomes the owner of Pierce Dominion, Callie finished. And Tristan becomes guardian, meaning he controls everything. Heart-pounding, Madeline sank onto the sofa. This is why he rushed everything. Why he humiliated me. Why he's framing me. He doesn't just want the baby, he wants the empire. Nathaniel exhaled sharply. Which means we cannot let him near you. Or the courts. Or the police. We need proof, Marcus said. Enough to bury Tristan and Kay so deep they can't claw their way out. And the only proof left, Nathaniel added, is in the safety deposit box. Madeline held the small brass key in her palm. Box 47. Marcus nodded. Your mother's last move. Whatever she put in there, it's something Kay couldn't destroy, even after she disappeared. A thought struck Maddie. Then we go now. Possible. No, Nathaniel said instantly. The banks are closed, and in the morning, the courts will demand you appear. Which means, Marcus added, we get one chance. One shot to retrieve the contents before Tristan legally traps you. Madeline inhaled slowly, letting the fear settle inside her chest, shaping itself into something sharper. Resolve. How? She asked. Nathaniel exchanged a glance with Marcus. We create noise. A distraction so loud it overshadows Tristan's narrative. Something undeniable. Something public. Marcus crossed his arms. You go to the bank at opening. Nathaniel and I buy you a window. Callie suddenly lurched forward. No, you can't go out there. Tristan has people looking for you. Real ones. They're watching airports, hospitals, luxury residences, and, she swallowed, and police precincts. Madeline blinked. Why police precincts? Because Tristan filed you as a danger to yourself and others, Callie whispered. They'll detain you for psychiatric evaluation. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. We move quietly then. No front entrances. No main roads. I'll call someone who owes me a favor. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Someone you trust? Nathaniel hesitated. Just 1 second. But it was enough for Marcus to catch. You don't know who's compromised, Marcus said flatly. Kay's people infiltrate everything, including your company. Silence swallowed the penthouse. Madeline realized the truth in his words. No one was safe. No one was trustworthy. Except maybe these two men. The only constants in a life unraveling faster than she could breathe. But then her phone buzzed again. All three turned toward it. A text. An address. A single sentence underneath. If you want to save your child, come alone. Midnight. Marcus grabbed the phone. You're not going. Nathaniel shook his head. It's a trap, and to disfor it. Madeline stared at the address, her pulse thundering as she whispered, It's my mother's old apartment. Madeline stared at the glowing address on her phone, her pulse slamming like a hammer against her ribs. She hadn't stepped foot in her mother's old apartment since she was 10. The place had been boarded up for years, frozen in time, a relic of a life she barely remembered. A life that ended the night Eleanor Pierce vanished without a trace. Absolutely not, Nathaniel said. You are not going anywhere near that building alone. Marcus stepped closer, dripping from the rain, jaw tightening. That message came from Kay. He's baiting you. He wants to confront you on his terms. Maddie's fingers tightened around the phone. He knows I won't ignore anything related to my mother. He knows exactly which wound to poke. That's why it's a trap. Marcus snapped. Callie, still pale and shaking, pushed herself off the floor. If Kay sent that text, then he already knows you're with them. He knows you're protected. So, he's escalating. He wants to isolate you. Nathaniel crossed his arms, his voice dark with frustration. He wants you vulnerable, defenseless, and desperate. You walk into that building alone, you won't walk out. Madeline lifted her chin. Then I won't go alone. Marcus slammed his palm against the table. You're not going at all. You don't get to decide that. She fired back. Marcus froze, startled by the steel in her voice. Madeline took a breath. All my life, I have been protected by other people. My mother, Nathaniel, even Tristan, in the beginning when I didn't know any better. But that's over. If Kay is using my mother's memory to manipulate me, then I need to know why. I need to know what she left behind. Nathaniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. Then we go together. No arguments. It's no. Maddie nodded, but before anyone could speak again, Callie whispered, There's something else. Something you all need to know. They turned toward her. Callie's hands trembled as she clutched her coat. That apartment. Tristan's been there. More than once. He met someone there. Someone who always stayed in the shadows. Marcus's expression darkened. Kay. Callie shook her head. No, not Kay, someone else. Someone Tristan called the broker, the one who handled the... She swallowed. The disappearance. Madeline felt the world tilt. The disappearance of who? Callie hesitated, then whispered, Your mother. A blade of ice sliced through Maddie's chest. Nathaniel stepped forward. Callie, are you sure? Callie nodded frantically. I heard Tristan shouting in his office once. He said, the broker promised the woman would never reappear. So why the hell is her daughter suddenly digging? He was terrified. Terrified like I'd never seen him. Thanks for watching. Marcus cursed under his breath. The broker is Kay's executioner. If he was at that apartment, then your mother's fate was sealed there. Maddie pressed a hand over her stomach, fighting the rising panic. Then that's where the truth is. Marcus grabbed her shoulder, voice fierce. You listen to me. If you insist on going, you follow my lead. That building may be wired, watched, or worse. Nathaniel added, and you do not speak unless necessary. We get in, get what you need, and get out. But... Maddie nodded, though dread coiled tight in her gut. They barely reached the doorway when Nathaniel's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, and his face drained of color. It's the custody court, he said softly. Tristan filed another emergency motion. What motion? Maddie asked, breath trapped in her lungs. Nathaniel met her eyes with devastating truth. He's asking the judge to declare you legally unfit, because he claims you tried to harm the baby. Madeline staggered. Marcus cursed loud enough to shake the walls. But Nathaniel wasn't finished. And he has what appears to be video evidence. Madeline swayed as if someone had struck her. A video? Of her hurting her own child? The thought alone made her stomach twist with nausea. Nathaniel, she whispered. That's impossible. I would never. I know, Nathaniel said, gripping her arms. But Tristan isn't relying on the truth. He's relying on fabrication. Marcus muttered a curse and began pacing. Kay's fingerprints are all over this. Manufactured evidence is the oldest trick in his book. Callie sank onto the sofa. Tristan had people follow you for weeks, record you without your knowledge. He said he'd collect enough odd moments to build a narrative. Madeline's eyes burned. Odd moments? You mean me struggling to breathe when the pregnancy pains got worse? Me holding my stomach after he said something cruel? Me crying in the bathroom because I felt alone? Callie looked away. He said the camera angle would make it look like you were trying to harm the baby. A soft, broken sound escaped Maddie's throat. Nathaniel pulled her into a steadying embrace. We'll expose every lie. But first, we need to stay ahead of Tristan. We go to the apartment. We find the truth about your mother. We gather everything we can before the hearing. Madeline nodded, wiping her eyes. Let's go. And Estender. They moved quickly down the private elevator, through the garage, into Marcus's discreet black sedan. Manhattan lights streaked across the windshield as they drove, the city moving with indifferent speed, while Maddie's entire life hung by threads. Halfway across town, Nathaniel's phone vibrated again. He frowned. Unknown number. Madeline stiffened. Don't answer. I have to, he said, switching to speaker. A small, trembling voice filled the car. Mom? Madeline felt her heart stop. She recognized that voice, soft, young, filled with innocence. It belonged to her future. Her unborn son. 10 years from now. Elias. But that made no sense. The voice wasn't coming from the future. It was from a video call. And on the screen, a boy. 10 years old. Dark hair. Gray eyes like Eleanor Pierce. Her eyes, Madeline's breath shattered. Who is this? The boy swallowed, scared but defiant. I don't know where I am. A man brought me here. He said my mom was sick. He said, his voice cracked. He said, I don't have a dad anymore. Marcus slammed the brakes so hard the car lurched. This is impossible. The baby isn't. Callie gasped. It's deepfake technology. Kay's people use it all the time. They recreate futures to manipulate leverage. Nathaniel clenched his fists. They're showing Maddie what will happen if Tristan wins custody. But Maddie couldn't breathe. The image of the boy, her son crying for her, afraid, alone, cut her deeper than anything Tristan had ever done. The boy on screen whispered, Mom, come get me, please. The video ended. Silence. Madeline pressed both hands to her stomach, shaking. They want me to break. They want me to walk into that apartment alone. That's exactly why you won't, Marcus snapped. But Maddie wasn't listening, because outside the car window, illuminated under a flickering street lamp, was her mother's old apartment building. The front door was propped open. A light burned inside, and in the hallway, visible from the street, stood Tristan Hale, waiting, smiling, as if he already knew she was coming. Madeline stared at the apartment building as if time itself had folded onto the sidewalk. The chipped brick walls, the flickering hallway bulb, the faint outline of peeling numbers above the door, everything looked exactly as it had the night her mother disappeared. Except now, Tristan Hale stood there like a phantom, expecting her return. Marcus swore under his breath. He's not alone. Look at the windows. Nathaniel leaned forward. Top floor, movement in the shadows, Kay's men. Callie shrank into her seat. He brought the broker. I know it. Tristan would never show up here unless he had backup. Madeline's heartbeat thundered until she felt it in her throat. She had never been this close to the truth about her mother, never so caught between fear and fury. Nathaniel turned to her. You don't go in alone. We go in together, and we control the narrative. Marcus checked his weapon. We enter from the back. Kay's men won't expect it. But Maddie shook her head slowly. No. Tristan wants me, not you. If we said. And that's exactly why we don't give him what he wants, Nathaniel snapped. Madeline lifted her chin. I won't hide behind anyone anymore. Marcus's expression darkened, conflicted. Your mother would kill me if I let you walk in alone. Madeline placed a trembling hand on his arm. And she'd kill you if you let them take her grandchild. This isn't about bravery, it's about bait. I need them focused on me so you can move. Nathaniel's jaw clenched. You're asking us to use you as a decoy. I'm asking you to trust me. The three exchanged heavy looks, fear, admiration, dread intertwining like storm clouds. Finally, Nathaniel exhaled. We stay close. One wrong sound, one wrong move, and we pull you out. Marcus added, if Kay is inside, don't engage. Buy time, nothing more. Madeline nodded, though her legs trembled violently. Let's finish this. End quote. They exited the car quietly, splitting at the corner, Marcus and Nathaniel slipping into the shadows toward the back entrance, while Maddie walked alone toward the front steps under the harsh yellow street lamp. Each step felt like stepping into a memory. 10-year-old Maddie crying on these steps. Her mother's final hug. A door slamming. Silence. Now, with her hand on the rusted railing, she entered the building. The hallway smelled like dust and old carpet. Lights flickered weakly overhead. And halfway down the corridor, leaning against the door of her mother's old apartment with his hands in his pockets, Tristan Hale smiled. Maddie, he said softly, almost tender. You came. She stopped several feet away, steadying herself. Where's my mother's evidence? Where's the broker? Where's Kay? Tristan chuckled. Straight to business. I remember when you used to cling to every word I said. Every muscle in Maddie's body tightened. What do you want, Tristan? What I've always wanted, he whispered. Control. He stepped closer, and she forced herself not to step back. You think you're stronger now? Smarter? You're still the same scared girl I met in Brooklyn, the one who needed saving. His smile darkened. And now you'll need saving again. Madeline balled her fists. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Oh, you should be, he murmured, lifting a small silver remote from his pocket. Because the man you really need to fear is waiting inside this apartment. A click. The lock behind him echoed open. The door creaked inward. And in the darkness beyond, a figure stepped forward. Tall, precise. Face hidden beneath a black hood. Tristan grinned. Maddie, meet the broker. End quote. The broker stepped fully into the dim hallway light, tall and unnervingly still, his hood casting a shadow so deep Maddie couldn't see his face, only the sharp outline of a man who moved with absolute precision. Tristan stood beside him like a proud handler, introducing a monster he believed he controlled. Maddie, Tristan purred, you're looking at the man who tied up all the loose ends your mother left behind. I have some indendrous. The broker turned slightly, and even that small movement made Maddie's chest tighten. There was something cold in the way he observed her. No curiosity, no anger, no recognition. Only calculation. Like she was a number he'd been instructed to erase. Madeline swallowed hard. Did you kill my mother? The broker didn't speak, didn't flinch. Tristan chuckled. He doesn't respond to accusations. Or to nobodies. Madeline held Tristan's gaze. I'm not a nobody. Not anymore. You never were, Tristan murmured, stepping closer. You were a useful stepping stone. A quiet life raft. You let me hide funds under your name for years. You let me stage transactions without even knowing you were signing them. You were the perfect shield. Madeline's stomach twisted. You used me. I shaped you, he corrected. No, Madeline whispered. You destroyed me. You destroyed everything. Tristan raised a hand as if silencing a child. Enough. We're done revisiting the past. Tonight is about removing obstacles. Nathaniel's voice echoed suddenly from the far end of the hall. Then start with me. Tristan stiffened. Marcus appeared beside him, emerging from the shadows with controlled fury. Maddie gasped. You're early. We never left you, Marcus growled. Nathaniel stepped forward, eyes locked on Tristan. It's over. She's done being your puppet. Tristan scoffed. You think I'm afraid of you? My legal victory is hours away. By morning, she loses custody. By noon, she's committed. And by the end of the week, he smiled cruelly. Her empire is mine. Madeline felt the old Maddie tremble, but the new one stood straighter. You're not getting my child, she said firmly. You don't get to decide that, Tristan snapped. Evidence speaks louder than victims, and the broker has all the evidence he needs to bury you. Marcus smirked. About that, Nathaniel raised a small device. With a click, the hallway filled with Tristan's own voice recorded from the janitor's hidden iPhone. She'll lose custody before she realizes she's fighting for it. A child raised by me is an asset. She should have stayed quiet. Tristan's face drained of color. Madeline stepped closer, her voice steady. You framed me. Humiliated me. Hurt me. But you forgot the one rule my mother lived by. She raised her chin. Truth always surfaces. Azalea. Tristan lunged toward her, enraged, but the broker's arm shot out, stopping him. Everyone froze. The broker finally spoke. A low, cold, mechanical voice. You jeopardized the operation. Tristan blinked. What do you mean? You exposed yourself, the broker said. You leaked footage prematurely. You involved the press. You acted emotionally. Tristan's breath caught. I did everything you asked. The broker turned his head slightly toward Maddie. New directive, he said. Remove the unstable variable. Tristan forced a laugh. Right her. So do it. The broker raised his gun, but he aimed it at Tristan. Madeline's scream caught in her throat. Nathaniel pulled her back. Marcus reached for his weapon. The broker spoke one final sentence. Tristan Hale has become the liability. A gunshot thundered through the apartment. The gunshot cracked through the hallway like lightning, splitting the world in half. Madeline flinched violently, bracing for pain, hers or someone else's, but when her eyes snapped open, she saw Tristan collapsing, a red bloom spreading across his tailored shirt. The shock on his face was almost childlike, as if betrayal had never once occurred to him in his entire ruthless life. He hit the floor hard. For a moment, the whole building seemed to exhale. The broker lowered his gun with mechanical calm, turning toward Maddie as if eliminating Tristan were nothing more than clearing debris. Next directive. But Marcus was faster. He slammed into the broker with a force that ricocheted down the hallway. The gun flew from the broker's hand, skidding across the floor. Nathaniel kicked it away, sending it down the stairwell. The broker fought like a machine, efficient, silent, terrifying, but Marcus met him blow for blow. Madeline stumbled back as the two men crashed into the wall. Plaster rained down, a light fixture shattered. And then, with a brutal twist, Marcus pinned the broker's arm behind him and snapped a steel cuff around his wrist. You're done, Marcus growled. For the first time, the broker stilled. No emotion, no panic, just the chilling quiet of a man who had been caught before and expected to slip free again. Nathaniel grabbed Maddie's hand. We need to call the FBI now. Your mother's evidence, plus the recording from the janitor, it's enough to bring down Kay's entire network. Marcus yanked off the broker's hood. The face underneath was younger than Maddie expected. Sharp cheekbones, cold blue eyes, no remorse. This man, Marcus said, was responsible for more disappearances than you can imagine. Including my mother, Maddie whispered. The broker didn't deny it. That was enough. Sirens wailed in the distance, louder, closer. Nathaniel had already called his federal contacts. By the time agents swarmed the building, the broker was secured. Tristan's body was covered, and the entire apartment floor had turned into a crime scene, surrounded by buzzing radios and flashing lights. An agent approached Maddie. Ma'am, we'll need you to give a statement. Nathaniel squeezed her hand. I'll be right here. But Maddie shook her head softly. No, she said. I can do this. Her voice didn't shake. For the first time in her life, it didn't. Hours later, as dawn broke over Manhattan, Maddie stepped outside the building, wrapped in a warm coat Nathaniel placed around her shoulders. The sky glowed with soft pink and gold, the kind of sunrise her mother used to call rebirth light. Marcus approached her quietly. Kay will fall. The broker will talk to save himself. Your mother didn't vanish for nothing. A tear slid down Maddie's cheek, but not from pain, from release. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded once, then stepped back into the chaos of agents and flashing badges. Nathaniel joined her on the sidewalk. The hearing will be dismissed. All charges dropped. You'll keep full custody. And, Maddie. He smiled softly. Pierce Dominion is yours now. Your mother wanted you to rebuild her legacy. Madeline inhaled the crisp morning air. I will. A black sedan pulled up. Inside, Callie sat waiting, ready to testify against Tristan and Kay. She gave Maddie a grateful, fragile smile before the car drove away. Nathaniel turned to her again. You don't have to face any of this alone. Maddie studied him, this man who protected her, believed in her, stood beside her when the world fell apart. Do you mean that? She asked gently. Yes, Nathaniel whispered, for as long as you'll let me. Maddie reached for his hand. Then stay, she said. The sun rose fully, bathing them in gold. For the first time in 10 years, Maddie felt whole, safe, free, and the future, hers and her child's, began that very moment. So, our story has finally come to an end. And if you're still here with me, right up to this moment, then something in Maddie's journey must have touched your heart in a way you maybe didn't expect. Maybe it reminded you of your own battles, your own quiet strength, or the moments life pushed you harder than felt fair. You know, the Stoics used to say, the obstacle is the way. What tries to break us often becomes the thing that shapes us. Maddie didn't win because life became easier. She won because she discovered what Marcus Aurelius called the inner fortress. The part of us no one can take unless we surrender it. Healing isn't loud. Courage isn't glamorous. Sometimes it's just choosing not to give up on the days when giving up feels simpler. If this story made you feel something, hope, strength, even just a little warmth, then stay with us. Like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel so we can keep walking through these stories together. You matter. Your journey matters. And I'm really glad you're here.